And we're getting started just a little bit late. We had some technical difficulties. Surprise, surprise. This is the first time we've tried something like this. But in any case, my name is Michael Packo. I'm the state chair of the Libertarian Party of Arkansas. And we're very pleased to have you all joining us here this evening to meet some of the candidates who have put their names forward to run for governor of Arkansas on our ticket. This is a very important race for us because the governor's race is the determinant of whether parties can remain a political party in the future. You need to get the 3% for your candidate in the governor's race. We're very pleased tonight to have with us as a moderator and host of our show, syndicated columnist Steve Brawner, whose columns appear in at least 21 newspapers around the country, I
21
believe.
news outlets. Yep.
And it's also, his work is available on independentarkansas.com, or just Google his name. He's out there. He's a commentator on politics in Arkansas, among other topics. And recently, in a prediction column for what might happen this year, he went out on a limb and said that this might be the year we get the 3%. So we're hoping that's true, and we're pleased to have a fine list of candidates here with us this evening. And I will turn things over here in a moment to Mr. Brawner, and we'll get things going. So again, thank you for coming. I've just got to admit more people to the room, and we'll get going here. So Steve Brawner, the stage is yours.
Welcome, everybody, to the 2026 Libertarian Party of Arkansas Gubernatorial Forum. I'm your moderator, Steve Brawner, and we will have each person will get 3 minutes of an opening statement. Then we'll get 2 minutes. We'll have a list of questions, 2 minutes per answer. Then you can rebut if you're called out for 1 minute. And then we'll hope to have some time for questions from the audience. As Michael said, this is a pretty good chance this year. You guys have a shot. There are 740 registered libertarians in Arkansas. And you would think that there would be an opportunity for some protest votes for you guys to get your 3%. But let's see if you got let's see what you guys have to say. So we'll start with Michael Kalagius. You have 3 minutes to just give an opening statement.
Yeah, first I want to thank the Libertarian Party of Arkansas and especially their executive committee for putting this on. I want to thank you, Steve, for hosting it. And then I'll get to me. I really don't want to run for governor. Generally, I'd rather not run for office. I'd rather go fishing. I'm retired. I'd like to spend my free time entertaining myself, but I also want to be left alone, and I want to see everyone else left alone. And we don't get that opportunity. We have a government that's way too intrusive for that. Not pleased at all with our current governor. So decided I needed to step up and do this because somebody had to and I could. So here I am. I'm still married to my first wife, love her dearly. She's not real happy about me running for office either, but she loves me dearly. So on we go. I'm a retired school teacher. I have military experience. I was in the U.S. Navy for 5 years. I deployed twice to the Persian Gulf. I've been active in my community, both politically and also socially. As far as I've been on a board and I volunteer at a food pantry. I was a volunteer firefighter here for 7 years, and now I'm on the board for that fire department. I also serve on the board of the local water utility to make sure that people have water. So I'm kind of familiar with using limited funds to provide needed services to people and being a public servant to serve those people, which is something that I think is missing. We hear a lot of people talking about, how they're the leader we need, and I think people can lead themselves. We need to start treating our politicians like servants. I understand that role. And I have no idea how much time I have left because I cannot see the timer. So hopefully I have not overrun.
You have a minute.
I still have a minute. So, okay, I still got some more time to speak then. As far as the Libertarian Party goes, I've been very active in the Libertarian Party. I have in the past been on the executive committee for the state. I have been a delegate to the national convention. I have been the chair, and I'm considered now the chair emeritus of my county affiliate. Those of you that have been in the party for a while are pretty familiar with who I am, I think. Those of you that are new, I'm sure will get a chance to know me a whole lot better. I have run for office 6 times before, 3 times for the state house here in Arkansas and 3 times for the U.S. House. I think I've acquitted myself fairly well at the televised debates that we had for the U.S. House races. And that's kind of why I'm running, is because I think I'd be a pretty good spokesman. I'd be able to get us the 3% and hopefully a lot more than that, because I'd like to see us be able to do more than just
That's your
get 3%. I want us to get enough that we can actually cause people to change their policies.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, Mark Rawson, 3 minutes.
Hey, good evening. I'm down here in Southwest Arkansas, coming to you from Ashtown tonight. And I want to thank the Libertarian Party of Arkansas, Mike Paco, Steve, and the other people that are running for the governor's office here on the Libertarian ticket. And it's been a nice day. But the reason I decided to throw my hat in this ring here is there's a number of reasons. One, the current governor, current system we have in the state has steadily impeded on our rights. And if you keep up with the politics, you know which ones are some of the FOIA laws, some of the taxes, nice taxes they put in, or fees, however you want to call them, over the
This
last
door
number of
just
years.
open?
Checking on you.
Oh.
The way it hurt out there.
Oh, no banging?
Yeah, it's like the banging quit. We thought I'd check, make sure you're okay.
You would know if you got the thing on you or something, you know?
Ma'am,
Stop for talking.
you might want to turn off our microphones, guys.
Am I still on there? Or
You're still on, yeah.
okay, I can hear it now again. All righty. And for years, I was a volunteer firefighter, volunteer fire chief, first responder, and I've worked in the communities trying to help others throughout the years, volunteer. And it gives me an insight of a lot of what is happening in this state that affects the regular people, not the elitists that are running the state and the corporations that are running the state, but what really matters to the people. And if you look in the smaller areas, even the bigger areas, where's the population going? You keep up the population, it's really not growing. How can you grow when people are still poor, still broke? And it'll stay that way as long as this current system is as it is. Now, how would you change that? Well, if you think about it, there's a lot of ways you can change it. One thing is getting rid of some of these taxes. Look, one of the burdensome things on young people, especially even older people, you go buy a used vehicle, you got a tax on it. You know who put that tax on it? Come from a Republican governor. This current governor's daddy. And after he passed all those taxes, where'd he fly off to? Florida. It's just like the card, the ag exempt card that they have now. They put out and boast about how good that was going to be. But in Texas, Oklahoma, they don't charge for that card. Arkansas, they tax farmers for that card. Now, the farmers in Arkansas, they're always up and good. For some reason, seems like the Republicans that are in House are doing a good job for them. What have they done? They haven't changed all the taxes that have been going on for years. They hadn't lowered them. They hadn't even got close to what Oklahoma is, the exemptions. And that's not helping them. As far as the Libertarian Party, I've been involved in the Libertarian Party for years and run a number of times on the ticket, actually helped in one of the lawsuits on there as well. And
Hey,
if you
thank
really
you,
want,
Mark.
okay, I'll take care.
Gotcha. Gave you the extra 15 seconds because you got interrupted a minute ago. So, but thank you, Mark.
Oh,
Okay,
you're
Gary
welcome.
Husky, 3 minutes.
Thank you, Steve, and good evening, everybody, and good evening, fellow running mates, and Michael Paco and the Libertarian Party. Thank you for putting this on. I've been a resident of Arkansas since the day I was born in Batesville, Arkansas. That's where I was born at, and went to school at Cave City. A little bit about me: raised on family farm in Strawberry. We were talking about that earlier. So I grew up in the 70s, and when I was 13, we moved to Ash Flat off the family farm. But primarily, I've got a lot of good memories of me and a tree swing with a rope going through a board and spending a lot of time on that and on my back then three-wheeler before four-wheelers. So we had a three-wheeler, and I have put a lot of tracks on that family farm on that three-wheeler, and grew up with family values with my dad's mom and dad right down the road, and my uncle who had a house on the property and little compound there of the family. And that's how I think a lot of people, some people still live like that. And you get a lot of city folks nowadays. A lot of my platform that I've been getting flagged for and questions about, and uh, doubters saying there's no way you can do that, and there may not be, but we're going to find out if we can provide free power for everybody with a statewide solar project that I'm wanting to talk to the power companies about, and the electric co-ops as well, and use the median. I know this probably sounds crazy, but use, and a lot of other places have done this, the median of the interstates to put in solar, and it is above the road. I know maybe some of you have pulled up pictures of it and seen, and produce enough power in Arkansas every day to not only pay for our power, so everybody would have free power, but also free water and free internet as well. Internet has become such a basic utility nowadays for children to be able to have access. And when you're getting ready for the future, which I think a lot of my campaign is based on future, is what do we need to provide for these kids for the future? And internet is definitely one of those things. As the night continues, I'm sure there'll be more questions about, well, how are you going to pay for it? Well, the solar project should pay for most of it. And we'll get into more details about that, and some more of my platform and everybody else's platform throughout the evening. Like I said, I grew up in Cave City. I went to school at Lyon in Batesville, Lyon College, and when it was still Arkansas College, and then did some hours at John Brown University as well. And I'm ready to run. I'm ready to give Miss Huckabee a run for her money. There you go.
Thank you, Gary. Okay. Colt, 3 minutes.
All right, guys. Introduce myself. My name's Colt Shelby. I'm from Cecil, Arkansas. I'm a sixth generation here in my same community. I've worked in the oil and gas industry for the last 23 years. I've been married for 19 years, have 3 kids. New to politics completely. So, unlike Mike and Mark and Gary, I'm a new libertarian also, because, whenever what happened to our community, whenever the government come in, it was a culture shock. We've never had to deal with it. I've lived the libertarian life without being involved in it. And so it kind of separates me a little bit, but I've learned a lot from Mike and Mark. Gary, I haven't really chatted with you much, but my platform that I would run on would be to try to get ethics and morals and 3 branches of government back into the system, because what we see right now is it's not what our founding fathers found. And we need to work on getting back to the basics and get everyone engaged and involved, and local government, how important that is to us. So what I see is the quorum courts, seats not being filled. I see them getting overstepped, and nothing has happened about it. I would run off from the same profile as what Sarah Sanders did, from the crime rate, the education system, and our economic development. But our economic development is so far behind because of our infrastructures across the state. So we're going to have to get in front of it. We're going to have to spend a little bit of money to make some money. And when I say that economic development, it should only be in places that it's wanted. We've got Northwest Arkansas, they want it. We've got parts of the Delta that want it. And with that being said, we need to be striving for those areas in economic development. As far as education goes, we've seen the scores. We've all, hopefully we've all paid attention. We've seen the learns. We've seen it fail year after year after year, which I think the legislation is going to really attack it this year, to my understanding, and try to be more fiscally responsible with our tax dollars. But we'll see how that comes out. But basically, I'm new to the party, new to the politics, and glad to be here, guys. And Steve, you and Mike, thanks for having this for us, and the Libertarian Party.
Thank you, Colt. Okay, now we're going to start with some questions, and we'll start with Mark and just sort of shuffle around as we go. The first question I would ask would be, if you were nominated to be the Libertarian Party gubernatorial nominee, what kind of commitment will you make to campaigning as far as time, resources, raising money? How much time will you put and effort will you put into this campaign? Mark, you're first.
Well, that's how I do in business. When I'm working for something, I work for it. Same thing when I did with a fire chief. When I became fire chief, I built this department up to where it had one truck that actually worked. And when I had gone, it had 3 trucks and then a pumper, tanker. So it had about 8 times as much water as whenever I took over. And as in business, when I'm working on something, I stay with it until I'm finished with it. And campaigning, you can look back at my track record on campaigns, and I work it. And I've done very well as far as votes for a Libertarian candidate over the years. I've got lots of votes in different races and comparison to other ones. Now, for me running for this specific one, because I didn't plan on it, but a lot of people across the state of Arkansas, the Democrats, Republicans, and independents had asked me to run because of my stance on many different issues and my knowledge as far as business. Now, and I would work, and I'll work, and I know I can get more than that 3% we need, but I also see the opportunity for this party to actually take the governor's spot in this election, the way things have gone with the current governor. And whoever gets it on the Democrat side, it's not going to really be much different than what this current governor is. So I really don't see anything but 2 versus the Libertarian Party. And y'all put me in that spot, I'll work at it. And I'd also ask anybody else that would like to help me do it. Because everybody needs to work together to get this done. It's not just the candidates running, but it's everyone as a team.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Okay, Gary, what kind of commitment will you pledge to make to your fellow Libertarian Party members?
Well, I think this is, and you guys have kind of hit on it as well. I think this is one of the first opportunities that the Libertarian Party has had to actually possibly take the office of governor. I think we all know what kind of position, Arkansas is so deeply red, but I think we know what kind of position the Republicans are in because of what's their trickle down that they've always talked about and wanted has trickled down from Washington, D.C. and trickled down from Trump and his administration, and people are not happy. And that's trickled right down to the lady who used to be his mouthpiece on a daily basis on our TV. And, if I've tried to keep my campaign as positive as possible and not throw any shade or, any attention to them and more attention to what I would do and what we should do, because what they're doing ain't working and people don't like it. And so I've had a lot of people say, well, what will you do about so-and-so? Well, it's hard to say because you don't know what you're going to have to work with when you get there at this point, whether he's going to, he has made it so difficult for people who, and I know a lot of people will say, well, that's not a libertarian thing. I get that a lot too. But my thing is, my campaign is about people and the people of Arkansas, and I care about the people of Arkansas. And when you get there, you don't know if they're going to still have SNAP or not. He's cut them off from SNAP 1 or 2 times. People are living, month to month. They don't know if they're going to be able to feed their kids. We need more stability. And I can talk maybe later about that. But I'll work 24/7.
Thank you, Gary. Colt, what kind of commitment will you make as far as your time and resources?
Well, Steve, I can't could devote as much as the other candidates here because I have a job in North Dakota. So I'm employed by ExxonMobil and it requires 2 weeks at a time. But my 2 weeks off, I already spend it campaigning. I generally go to a lot of the committee meetings, the Lincoln dinners, the every social event in the area within 8 to 10 counties around. Now I do plan on seeing all 75 counties. That's just a personal goal that I've made myself in the past year. Like I say, I'm at 8 counties now, strong, and just try to make every event that I can. And you know, I've surrounded myself by some really good people, and that's kind of been the secret to success. Is you know, and I've talked to Paco about this in conversation. Is I don't intend on leaving my career that I have currently. So if I was appointed in that position, if I was running, I would maintain my career because I could do both. And I firmly believe I could staff up, have a strong staff, not what we see now. What we see now, I don't know if anybody's familiar with the current staffers in the governor's office, but they're not really they're not what the state needs to be successful. We need to surround ourselves by public education folks. We need sheriffs. We need people that's been in the economic development business folks mindset. If we're going to make Arkansas better, we need the staff to be the folks that are very strong. So I would run my campaign and my time. I would give my 2 weeks that I'm off at a time, and every evening when I'm off work, I could give that and recruit and gather all the folks that would be willing to help out. And you know, if I don't get nominated, I'll be there for those same amount of time for Mark or Gary or Mike. I mean, I want the Libertarians to do well.
Okay, thank you, Colt. Michael, what about your commitment? Yep.
What is that noise?
We're not
We
here.
got played off.
Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, for me, this would be a full-time commitment. As I said in my introduction, I'm retired, so I don't have a whole lot of other things that are going to take my time away from this. This would be my first priority. I would travel wherever I could, wherever I'd be welcomed. Maybe even some places where I wouldn't, just to make sure I can meet the people and give them a chance to question me, to make sure that they can test to see what kind of a candidate they're going to get or that they might vote for. I think I've done some of that in the past with some of my races. Some of my races, I'll admit, I didn't put a whole lot of effort into. I was just pretty much a name on a ballot. On other races, I've had campaign manager, campaign staff, took donations. At one point, spent more money than anybody else ever had on a race. I think I'm probably still the only Libertarian candidate in Arkansas that had TV ads at one point. And I intend to do a whole lot more than that this time for my governor's race. I already have starting to get my campaign team in place, and I'll be ready to hit the ground running as soon as I get the nomination if I do get that. And I still got a minute to go. I'm good at finishing early.
You done?
Nobody will be mad at you, Mike.
Okay, well, thank you, Michael. We'll start with Gary on this one. We've had a couple of audience participation questions, and the kind of the same issue, same topic. So, how do you plan to appeal to disaffected Republicans, Democrats, and Independents? That came from Doug, and Miranda asked, how would you reach a disengaged electorate and get more people to the polls? So how do you reach other party members, and how do you reach people who are not engaged at all? And we'll start with Gary.
Boy, that's a that's a day-to-day battle, I believe, when you're battling Trump, who changes his mind every 10 seconds on how he's going to redistrict your state, or if he's going to limit your mail-in votes, or who appointed this guy king of the world to change everything? Don't we have committees in place for this stuff? And that is why he did it this time from the minute he got in office. He did it last time to the point that he was president, that I turned the news off after 2 years of following it. I said, I can't handle this roller coaster ride anymore. And that's exactly what it is. And now it's gotten to the point with this whole Epstein issue, whether he's guilty or not, that it's become a daily, what can I do today to keep these people occupied and off my ass long enough to, do something else. And so that's what I was saying a while ago. I tell people, they ask, what do you do about this or what are you going to do about that? Well, we'll have to wait and see when you get there what's still there and what's not. Because, I mean, you've got him threatening to take away the Department of Education, which you would think the Department of Education in the United States would be a staple. It's like FDIC insurance. If he came out one day and said, "Oh, we're going to cancel FDIC insurance," wait a minute, that's supposed to always be there. And have you heard of the Constitution? Well, let's pull that out. And him just setting it on fire. It's like somebody who has no respect for any of the system at all. And I think all of us respect the system, know how to work within the system without letting the system rule everything at the same time. And that's what I want to do is step in, provide some good stuff for Arkansas. Lord knows we deserve it, and go from there and be able to pay for it at the same time.
Okay. Thank you, Colt. Thank you, Gary. Colt, how do you appeal to people of other parties and also disengage voters?
Well, so it's fairly easy with the Republican Party because they're split right now, and everybody knows it if you pay attention. So gathering those votes and the angry votes, the people are upset with the way our government's running right now. But we need to promote the libertarians because most people look at libertarians as they're the crazy folks. They're the ones that take their clothes off up on stage. They're the ones that want everybody to have drugs. But that's not the case because we have the non-aggressive principle in place. And that's where we don't hurt people. We don't steal from people. And it's very simple. And it just goes back to being a good person. So if we could promote that and people could understand that the main concept of being a libertarian is we want to have our freedoms. We want people, if everyone lived the life that I've gotten to live the last 41 years and understood how good it is to be a libertarian, to live that life, not say you're a libertarian, but live to be a libertarian, everybody would want it. Everybody would be good people. But we're at this place in life where your neighbor isn't your neighbor anymore, and we need to get back to that. And how do we do that? We got to show them the compassion, show them that it's possible, and introduce them to just good people. So I think by promoting the libertarian beliefs, we could persuade many Republicans and probably a few Democrats to come across, because it is an in-between zone if you look at the party platform.
Okay. Thank you, Colt. Michael, how about you? How would you appeal to people of other parties and also to disengage voters?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the age-old problem. They've always said, being a libertarian is like being the only sober person at a party, and no one will give you the keys. So that's what we've always struggled with, and I think what's happening is that more and more people are getting disaffected as politics keeps getting crazier and dirtier as it goes, and it's getting violent. It's not just what we've seen in Minneapolis where people are being killed by the government for their protest. We had that happen right here in Arkansas. We had the airport director from Little Rock Airport that was killed by government agents, and nothing was done to stop it. And people are kind of sick of that. They're sick of seeing what the government is. So there are a lot more disaffected people who are going to give us a look. And when they give us a look, what we need to do is show them who we actually are, not who people keep saying we are. Our state party chair here is the state's leading economist. We're not a bunch of crazy people. We're the people that actually know what we're doing. We're the rational adults that are in the room. And so as people are disaffected and say, well, let me take a look, that's the face that we need to put forward. We need to show them that that is indeed who we are, that we have reasonable, rational ideas, that we are reasonable, rational people, and that our ideas would actually probably work much better than the partisan ideas that have proven to fail all along. I think I've done that somewhat in some of the debates I've had, but I don't think they were very widely viewed. as disaffection grows more, I think we'll get more views, and that'll help us get that message out.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Mark, how about you on this question?
Thank you. You know, the majority, overwhelming majority of Arkansans are libertarians. They just don't know it. They have the same principle. When you sit down and talk to them, they have the same base principles as libertarians. You have your hardcore Democrats, you have your hardcore Republicans, but then you have the rest of the people. And they just don't know they are. They don't realize what they are wanting is the same thing we are wanting. And that's what we got to transfer to them so they understand it in a way. And how would I do it? Speak to them in Arkansas. You take these people across this state, you look at what they're having to live through. Most of them is generation after generation after generation. At some point, they got to wake up and start paying more attention. And if we talk to them, work with them, you're going to have a lot of them wake up. It's just like when the Tea Party people were absorbed into the Republicans because they thought the Republicans were really going to help them. It didn't work out as good as they thought. Now, I talk to people, I can go out and talk to anybody. I've done it for years. I don't care what they smell like, what they look like, what they talk like. I don't. And I do it every day. I can strike up a conversation with anything. Heck, if a fence post out there, I might talk to it. Good practice. But in truthfulness, though, we have to work together to talk to these people because we want freedoms. We don't want to keep on getting infringed on. We don't want to keep on losing our rights. And that's what we're losing with the legislation that is continually passed in the legislature over the last many years. Since I was a kid, there's no telling how many freedoms we've lost since I was a kid. That's been a few years ago. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. We move to the next question by another audience member, actually the same, Doug. Concerning the LEARNS Act, in what ways has it failed? What parts, if any, have been successful, and how would you otherwise improve education? And I believe that it's Colt going first this time.
Oh man, that's one of my favorite subjects. This is the most important thing going on in Arkansas right now. So we've ranked around the 35, 36 range for many years. And with the LEARNs, so the pros are the teachers' raises. So the teachers got $50,000 where they was making 32, 36. My wife's actually she was a 5th and 6th grade teacher. Now she's the school librarian. So I'm very engaged in this subject. Some more things is the homeschooling. Some of the homeschooling where they get the vouchers, it's been very successful. But the problem with LEARNs is 83% of the kids that's taken the taxpayer's dollar was already going to private schools anyway. So that's why we've taken the $320 plus or minus $1 million out of reserves is to pay for that. So as a state, we've got to come up with a way. We want the kids to do well. We want school choice. We want them to be independent. We want the parents to have the choice for the best education for their kids. But we've got to do that in a successful way. And I think it was Gary was talking about the Board of Education. So our current appointee for the Board of Education, Mike Oliva, I'm not a big fan of him. Do your research in Florida. He got caught with fraud, and it follows the Sanders administration. So we need to revamp the Board of Education. We need better people in place. We've got 500,000 kids in public schools, yet we're paying attention to the 75,000 private and homeschooled kids, which have always excelled. And we need to get back to the lower income places, see where we're failing, and try to improve those test scores, see what those kids need. Because most of the kids in Arkansas, and it goes back to crime rate. I don't run out of time. I can talk for days on this. But, the poverty schools are the ones that are suffering the most. So with LEARNs, we need to move some of that money down there.
Okay. Thank you, Colt. Michael, what do you think about LEARNs?
It's just beginning, so it's kind of hard to do a full evaluation of how it's working out. I think the biggest problem that we see with it right now is that it's added quite a bit of expense. And as Colt was saying, it's primarily just affecting the people that were already out of the public school system to begin with. As time goes on, will that move more people out of public and into private schools? That's possibly, but it needs to do that in a way that's then spending less money, not more money that we don't have. This is a state that's supposed to have a balanced budget. We like to say that we do have a balanced budget, but we've got $5 billion in debt on bonds. We've got about $20 billion in debt on future liabilities that haven't been financed. So we're not exactly debt free, and we're spending our surplus money on something that's going to be a continuing expense, which means eventually we'll run that surplus money out and we'll have to raise taxes to meet that expense. That's the biggest problem that I see with it right now. We need to fix that. We need to make this so that it's not an increasing expense, but it's a decreasing expense to the taxpayers. And then we can try and evaluate from there what it's doing for academics. I think we could do a whole lot more for academics if we just let the school districts have a little bit of freedom instead of trying to control everything and micromanage it with central control from Little Rock. This country was never meant to function on central control. Central control does not work very well. It's why communist states fail, is because they're heavy into central control. We need to decentralize that, give districts some chance to pursue things on their own, where they can increase the quality of education for the students that they have, that they know. And that needs to apply to classroom teachers too. That's a big one to me because I was a classroom teacher, is that teachers don't have control of their classrooms. And their job is documenting all kinds of things and trying to reach each individual person where they're at. And they don't have the freedom to teach. And that's showing up in our results. It's why we have such a high illiteracy rate and why our students are so bad at math and science and social studies. We could focus that back just by decentralizing.
Thank you, Michael. Mark, your thoughts on LEARNs?
LEARNs, it reminds me of the last, say 20 years. There's not much difference happening in the education as far as the kids learning. Seems kind of ironic to a title like that. There's a lot of money going out. It's just like the prison trying to get it built there in Franklin County. If it goes through and this continues on, that is adding to debt. And it's actually debt because they're pulling, if you've been keeping up with the surplus, that surplus has been going down the toilet. And it's going to put Arkansans in a higher level of debt that most people can't afford in this state as it is. And as far as education wise, I don't see that it's actually helping the education. In order to get it different, you've got to get it more local. These people they put in the state office, like they was talking about just a second ago, they should be coming from Arkansas. You cannot tell me somebody from Florida is smarter than somebody from Arkansas. There's somebody in Arkansas who could do that job better and care more about it than somebody from out of state just because they're helping somebody's campaign. Now, does people in this state really care enough to have the schools do better? I don't think most people in this state do at this point. Because if you continue to look at what's going on in all these communities, they're having a competition to build the biggest, finest, and fanciest school buildings. They're not putting emphasis really on education, even at the local level. So there has to be something that is brought forward where all the money is equal that goes to the schools. If it's going to continue with the vouchers, then the schools need to start losing the money until they start teaching the kids. Is it the teacher's fault? I ain't gonna say it's all the teacher's fault because most of it's probably not. Most of it's administrative fault and state fault.
Thank you, Mark. Gary, your thoughts on LEARNs?
You know, I've not got kids, but I've been watching, and I'm not exactly, I don't know exactly what LEARNs is, but I've been watching, and you know, I know they're providing vouchers so you can send your kids to private school or whatever. And I'm with Mark on that. I say follow the money. I don't trust that party farther than I can throw them. And Sarah has lost some weight. She's looking good since she came back from from DC. I think I could throw her a pretty good ways, but you know, just to be funny. Um, looking a lot better. Um, I think we need to follow the money and not just follow the money on Lawrence. I think we need to follow the money on the Franklin County Prison. I think there are people who are being paid to be consultants for things that are never going to happen, that they're going to take their $300,000 check. And, I think people are taking their Learns money for private school. And to me, it's a form of racism, is all it is. It's just um, hidden racism is being able to say, oh, well, we got, money for Learns. We got money for private school to send our kids there. So they don't have to go to school with the black kids, basically, is what they're saying. Or they don't have to go to school with the Mexican kids, or they don't have to go to school with whoever. There's part of me, and I'm not, I don't have a racist bone in my body, but I worked with a guy here in Blytheville that told me one day, we were having a conversation. He said, "That's a racist comment." I said, "That's a realist comment, is what that is." And maybe I'll get to go into more of that later on.
Okay. Thank you, Gary. We've got a lot of good questions from the audience. This is not coming from them, but I think we really need to make sure that we get this in because it's probably the biggest issue in Arkansas state politics right now, and that's the prison. What is your position on the prison? Should it be built in Charleston? Should it be built at all? And basically, what is your approach to corrections, crime, and punishment, and who should be arrested and who shouldn't? And we'll start with Michael. Uh-oh. We're not hearing you, Michael.
Pardon me, I was muted. So
Okay.
the short answer is it should not be built. Certainly not there. If you're going to build you need to build someplace where it's reasonable to build it. If you don't have infrastructure, if there's no way to get it water, you don't have adequate roads, you don't have any kind of sewer, you can't build something that's going to house thousands of people. It's just, this is just graft. This is money that's being sent to people that donate. I don't think even if the current governor gets her way, that this prison will ever function. There just simply isn't enough money to make it work. As far as building it somewhere else, as full as a lot of the local jails are, as far as the county jails go, we probably do need to build a little bit more jail space for the time being. Maybe 500 beds, not 3,000 beds. And we need to build it somewhere where there's a workforce, where there's adequate infrastructure, roads, water, sewer, electric. And that's not where they're currently trying to build it. And then you build that basically as a stopgap just to give you some time so that you can fix your criminal justice system. Because we have a whole lot of people in jail right now that don't belong there. They've never hurt anyone other than themselves. There is no victim. If there is no victim, there is no crime. And we're filling our jails with people that have committed these crimes that have no victims. And in doing so, then we have to let people go free that actually are committing crimes that should be in jail. So we need to adjust the way we look at criminal justice, who we're going to put in jail, put the people there that belong there, and stop jailing people that don't. And at that point, we won't need all that jail expansion. The United States has, of the entire developed world, the worst incarceration rate, and Arkansas has one of the worst incarceration rates in the United States. So we need to fix that, and then the prison problem won't be that much of a problem.
Thank you, Michael. Mark, your position on the prison, crime, and punishment. What's your position?
Michael's absolutely right on all the points he made there. The prison does not need to be built. There is a funnel waste of money for Arkansans, but it does appear to be a good funnel for campaign contributors to the governor and certain Republicans. Senator King's right on this. I mean, he's been on top of it, and you have to give him praise where it's due. We do not need to build that prison there. There were counties, the way I understand it, there was a couple of counties, one of them pretty close to here where I'm at tonight, that were willing to build some smaller prisons there. They didn't want it. If that's what they wanted to do, you could build a smart one for a stopgap, just like Mike said. But the long term, the prisoners in Arkansas, there is no mental health facilities for people. When I say mental health facility, a lot of these, I've been around this because I worked with people who've been in and out of prison and grew up around people that's been in and out of prison all their life, their families, generation after generation after generation. And as long as you allow those routine generations flow, it'll always go that way. There's a lot more to it than people just going out and committing a crime. And what crime is it? Which crime? Because not all crimes are created equal. Now, I see a lot of people who get out of prison and try to make a difference in their life. One of the biggest problems is the state laws are hindering them to do what they need to do to get their feet in the ground. And we've got to change that. There is no reason to keep somebody down all their life and in prison. It is better to have people working, paying the taxes if you want taxes, than in the prisons, not working, sucking the taxes away from us that are working.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mark. Gary, what do you think about the prison and about the overall topic of crime and punishment and corrections?
I think the prison, we've tried and tried and tried and tried. And let's see, did I get to 5 yet? Because what was it last time? She sent it to the Senate 5 different times. This session, I think she's already sent it. I know she sent it once already, at least. And it's like, I said no. You know, if she was your daughter, can I have some candy? No. Can I have some candy? No. Well, how about some candy? No. How many times do you have to say no before she gets the point? And if you, again, follow the money, like, you know, I was saying with Mark a minute ago, all this came about when Trump was trying to build his prison in Florida, and they, you know, threw a tent city prison down there, basically, and funneled some money through there. This has got to be the biggest grift in history of follow the money, because if you follow the money, the Lord knows where it would come from and where it would go. You know, I know we already have some consultants that have been highlighted in Arkansas on following the money, but when that one in Florida got done was the same time that Sarah was pushing the one up here, and Lord knows how many more prisons they had planned around the country to put in to house people, and which I think is crap as well, because that's not what it was for. And if it is, they're also they have a big game going inside with the commissary on selling things from phone calls to, you know, cookies, you name it. Somebody's making some money on this, and that's where we need to follow the money. And I say X on Franklin County Prison. I don't think we need any more prisons in Arkansas.
Thank you, Gary. Colt, your thoughts on the prison?
Okay, so I want to be clear. I don't feel like the prison is the worst thing we got going on in Arkansas right now. I think the education system is, personally, and then the Illinois watershed. Then you got the Carroll County windmills. Then you got the Low-and-No solar panels. So we're affecting a bunch of lives with that. But I want to stick with the prison for now, because that's the subject they brought up. So, you know, ground zero right here. You know, we've been finding it for a year and a half. It's the wrong spot. It's fiscally irresponsible. But the biggest thing about it is the lack of transparency our state government did to our senators and our state representatives. You know, it's unethical, it's not right, and it's just bad on the state what they did to Gary Stubblefield and John Eubanks. And that is my biggest argument with it over the taxes and how much it's going to cost. Because that is not the state that I grew up in. That is not the kind of people that I've lived around my whole life. But issues that we could fix with Calico Rock is already had the engineering done. The plans are there for 525 bed expansion, and it would actually be completed by now. Is prison beds the answer? Absolutely not. Mental health issues, like Mark spoke of earlier, we've got over 3,000 inmates right now in prison with mental health issues that can't be repaired, and we're just housing them. We're paying $27,000 a year for inmates to do that. We've got to get some help. You know, the world is different now than it was 15, 20, 30 years ago, and we need to evolve with it. Arkansas has got some of the highest crime rate in the nation. We got to fix our laws. And that starts with the legislative branch, and we got to look and see what's going on and how to fix it. And kind of goes back to the question earlier, the Democrats and the Republicans. This is where we meet in the middle. This is where we fix the Arkansas problems.
Okay, we are getting fairly close to the end of this. I think we wouldn't call it a debate, more of a forum. We had another question from the audience from Stephen Edwards. As governor, how would you work with or push back against the federal government on immigration and ICE? I think I asked Michael the question first last time, if that's correct. And so I guess it's Mark's turn. Is that correct? Is it Mark's turn to go first?
I believe so.
Okay. Mark, what about ICE?
Well, ICE, it's a federal branch. It truly is. And the senators in Arkansas, the congressman from Arkansas, they was part of that to get that pushed in. And as far as what you could actually do, well, you could throw a fit. You could hold off like some of the other ones have done a little bit. But in reality, that's really the only thing that you could do if it's here. I mean, there is not. I mean, you could stall it, is about it. And they have done it kind of successful in at least one other state. But are they enforcing laws partially or mostly that people in this state, the majority of the people in this state won't? And that's something you'll have to find out from the people, if the people actually want that. Because I from talking to people, there's some people that don't want them here, don't want them coming in. But there's a lot of people, even people I know that crossed the border years ago, that they want them here because they see a different kind of people in this area. And down here, there's a lot of people from Hispanics in this area. So it really depends on what the people want in the state. Because if you go to pushing too hard against something the majority don't want, whether you're against it or not, whether I'm against it or not, it's not going to be that good for you, for the party, and for the state, because technically, in the whole aspect of it, really not a whole lot the government can do about it. I mean, you could talk to the senators and stuff, and maybe, because they're the ones who pushed it in. Republicans.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Gary, your thoughts on immigration and ICE?
You know, when I'm like Colt was a while ago, this isn't the Arkansas I grew up in. It's not the United States that I grew up in, where you've got people being murdered on the streets. Personally, I'm not for ICE. I agree with Mark. I don't know legally what you could do, but I guarantee you this: legally, I'll do whatever I can to shut it down in Arkansas. I'll take a stand on ICE, and I'll take a stand on that. We have a lot of farm land and a lot of farm help in Arkansas, and a lot of those folks are from Latino countries, and they may or may not be here legally or working on that. And that's been the way it's been for years. And I'll tell you something, I always think about these people. If you had gone through what those people probably, a majority of them went through, crossing rivers and different things with their families to get here to try to make a better life. And, the United States I grew up in was supposed to be a melting pot of the world, where people wanted to come and do better for themselves and do better for their families. And this ain't it. it's just not it. And whatever we need to do, I think the first thing I would do would be to call our National Guard guys back to Arkansas and get them back where they belong instead of being on vacation. We were just recently in Memphis, and there were a bunch of National Guard guys over there that were just hanging out on Beale Street, having fun, which is good for them. But they were from Georgia, and the way that the administration has them scattered right now is for some other reason, I'm sure. But anyway, whatever. But that's where I stand on ICE. I would get rid of them as soon as possible.
Thank you, Gary. Colt, your thoughts on ICE and immigration?
That is a rough question there, Steve. So, we would have to put things in place to help our workforce. As we know, a lot of the immigrants that are here to work and make money. And, I worked down in South Texas for many years, and I seen them coming across back and forth. And, to be honest with you, we need the workforce. So we've got to find a happy median to let these guys get in legally. So as a governor, you would have to implement something in place to protect our people here and to keep them safe and to keep our workforce going. And because we've got workers all over Arkansas that are illegal. Everybody knows that. You can talk to the sheriffs; they know which ones are illegal. But we need those folks here. Most of them are good families that are trying to work hard, trying to do good. Now, you do have bad guys. You have bad guys in everything we do, but we have a law enforcement for that. Those guys, if you make a crime, you don't follow the rules, then you go to jail. You go to jail, you get locked up, you go to court, and then we're housing them. So that's what makes it kind of a hard barrier to cross. But I think we could put enough rules in place to make it work to where they could still live here and go through the programs, through a work program, and maintain those illegal immigrants.
Okay. Thank you, Colt. Michael, as governor, how would you work with or push back against the federal government on immigration and ICE?
This is one place where I think we could actually get libertarians to kind of agree with things that the Republicans and even some of the Democrats have already done in Arkansas. There was a few years ago, they passed an act. It was a Sovereignty Act that was designed to protect Arkansans, constitutional rights. And the governor vetoed it and then had enough political power to make sure that it didn't get overridden. If our legislature decides to pass that bill again, I'll sign it. I would very much like to get back to the constitutional republic that we were. I would like to very much get back to following the Arkansas Constitution. And maybe people aren't quite ready for that yet, but let's head that direction. This problem is bigger than just ICE. It's an overreach by government. It's an overreach by our state government, often into our local areas. It's an overreach by the federal government into our state. As far as the National Guard goes, I kind of agree with some of what Gary said. Our National Guard people don't belong in Washington, D.C. picking up trash. The Libertarian Party has long been part of a movement called Protect the Guard. They shouldn't be deployed overseas to fight wars unless there's an actual declared war. They shouldn't be outside the borders of this state. They belong here. That's the Arkansas National Guard. It's not the world's National Guard. They belong here. And if we need to deploy them to protect our citizens, whether it's a natural disaster, whether it's government overreach, whether it's an invasion, then that's what we would do. As far as immigration goes, we don't have that big of an immigration problem in Arkansas. And what we do have could be pretty easily solved. If you have violent criminals, if you have property crimes, those individuals go to jail. If they go to jail, they're an illegal alien, then we can send them to be deported. That's not an issue. I think everybody would be behind that. That's the people that we think we're deporting. But to bring in paramilitary groups as agents of the government to just find every immigrant they can find to try and get rid of them, that needs to stop. And our governor needs to lead the charge on that.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, we are getting near the end here. I guess we could do one more. I have forgotten who was next to be first. Is it Gary or Colt? Which one goes first this time? Gary?
Gary.
Okay. I think this maybe be the last question, unless Dr. Packo feels differently. Um, as governor, as a libertarian candidate, how would you generate press coverage? How would you generate interest without appearing too outlandish? Gary?
Well, you hit on my area of expertise. I spent the last 35 years of my life in media. I don't know if you all know my background or not, but I've spent 35 years in radio. I started when I was in high school, actually, at Cave City at KZIG 89.9. And that's where I learned how to do radio. And then went on and spent the rest of my life as program director or operations director and on air in radio. And of course, that throughout the years, the different stations in Fort Smith, Hot Springs, KLAZ, Big Daddy and Heidi show down there. I don't know if any of y'all remember that, but broadcasting into Little Rock and Hope, Arkansas, and not only Blytheville up here for the last 14 years, and Newport, around the state, where I've worked at Batesville, where I went to college, and working at 93 out there for years and years and years. But I'm very well familiar with the radio portion. Through the years, I've worked in internet, as far as social media. I've got every social media account you can imagine, from TikTok to, Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, and Facebook. And it's very important nowadays to reach those people. I don't think that your normal broadcast TV anymore is as important as probably social media is to get ads in front of people. So I've got several ideas when it comes to media and ways to increase the party. And I don't really think you're going to have to. I'm going to go just a little bit over probably this time, because I think people are so disenfranchised with the Republican Party. They'll walk in
We
that
are going to
booth
stick to the 2 minutes, okay, Gary?
and they would vote for anybody other than who's on there.
You
Go
can
ahead.
finish up your sentence. I've allowed that. So you have anything else that you kind of
Okay.
want to wrap up in a sentence or two?
No, that's pretty much it. We're in a very good position this time. It's what I'm basically trying to point out.
Okay, thank you. Colt, how do you generate press coverage, other kinds of interest without going off the deep end?
Unfortunately, I've been lucky enough for the past year and a half to get that press coverage. I've got a lot of good contacts across the state that, they covered the prison debacle. And with that being said, I've made friends across the state to help with any kind of communications that we need. It doesn't matter if it's north, south, east, or west. We tend to make the headlines. And then, unfortunately, with the lawsuit that I had here this a few months ago, brought a lot of publicity, made a lot of friends along the way doing it. And so I think with that same support, keep that same networking going on, I could reach out all across the state to make that happen, and just keep moving forward with it. Guys like you, Steve, you and Mike, Mark, Gary, the social media platform, the Twitter. I know sometimes I seem a little bit angry on there, but I'm a little mad at my government if you can't tell. And hopefully one of us can fix that.
Okay, Michael, press coverage, other kinds of attention, how would you generate it without going off the deep end? Nope, muted.
I keep forgetting that. Some of that I'm gonna have to raise. I'm gonna have to raise more money than I have in the past. So you can kind of buy that coverage, but not all of it. I've had races before, so I have made some of my own contacts in the media. I've known you for quite a few years now. We've known each other, and I have a few other contacts in the media as well, and I'd lean on the people around me. I know Colt has a lot of contacts in the media that I don't have. That he's generated from the Franklin County stuff, and I'll lean on him. So if I get the nomination, what can you do to help me? Who are your contacts? Can you reach out to your contacts for me? Same thing with Gary. Gary's got a history in doing this sort of thing. So I can reach out. So I intend to reach out to everyone around me that can help me. I intend to do some more fundraising so that I can buy whatever publicity I need to kind of get things rolling. And I think some of it's just going to be earned just because of the races that I've run before and because of the interest people are going to have in a third party, because third party is getting more interest now than it ever has before. There's so much dissatisfaction with the two establishment parties that people are taking a bigger look for third parties. And so I think that's just going to generate some on its own.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Mark, how do you get press coverage? How do you get attention without appearing too outlandish?
Well, currently I use TikTok and Facebook and platforms when I make videos and put them out. Do pretty good at it. Get a lot of coverage on them. But I also lean on people inside the party here and friends and other people I know to get as much coverage as can. But I ain't gonna stop there. It don't bother me to go down in the hoods or into areas where it's a Hispanic community or whatever. And that's one of the biggest problems that we have, I believe, in the Libertarian Party. Actually, Republicans and Democrats have it too, because they don't show up either. They sure don't help. So if you want to be different, you go there. You go to the places where the other candidates are not going to go because they're too good to go there. Because those are the people you need to be talking to. Those are the people we need to be talking to. Those are the people that vote to put people in office. And they are the ones that can make a difference, especially in this race. Word of mouth, whether you've been in business for years or whatever, word of mouth is more powerful than any TV ad. It's worth more. Not only that, is if you're in these areas where they're not going to go, you're going to get the press coverage that they could have got had they actually been there. They would get it easier than we would, but we can still get the coverage. The only difference between us and the Democrat or the Republican candidates is we win it, and they don't. You can look at their history. A lot of the bigger news medias in Arkansas are pro-Republican, so it's a little more difficult unless you're doing something specifically different than what these other candidates do. Something that they just can't let go of. Man, that's what I do. I'll be the difference. I don't bother me.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, time for 2 minutes of closing statements. And we're going to go in reverse order from the opening statements. So, Colt, you got the floor first. 2 minutes for your closing statement. Oh, you're muted.
Thank you very much, guys. It's been a great opportunity to have this chance to be with you today. And I just want to say, with the ending statement of the platform of the Libertarian Party, I'm not near as knowledgeable on the platform as Mark, but I have reached out to Paco and everybody to get information on it. And I'm really good at surrounding myself by good people. I've never been one to claim to be the best at it, but I'm really good at getting good people in a group and making things happen. So given the opportunity with the Libertarians, hopefully the 22nd, which unfortunately I got to work and I won't get to be there. They watch the video, they see what capabilities are, they look at the histories of all of us, and if they pick me, I'll do my best to win us those 30,000 votes. If not, I'll 100% support Mike or Mark or Gary, whomever gets that opportunity. But the main goal is if we did get the opportunity to win the governor's race, that we make this state better and we bring morals back. We get our 3 branches of government back and ultimately make Arkansas the place everybody wants to live. And I think we would all agree that would be the end goal. But thank you guys for your time, and I really enjoyed this opportunity.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you, Colt. Gary, 2 minutes for your closing statements.
All right. Thanks, Steve. One thing I wanted to mention during all this was part of my platform where people think I'm crazy and ask me, how are you going to do that? with free power and free water and free internet for people. And the plan is, it's a 6 to 8 year plan. We're going to start with solar and put solar along all of our interstate medians in the state. I think the state portion of that would be to donate that land to energy or the co-ops, in those areas, and let energy work with the co-ops. I don't want to take over running a power system, but I will give them the land to do it if they will give me the power. And we can give that on to the residents of Arkansas, and it should produce, and we can put in more if we need to produce enough that Arkansas's industry will be solar. And it will be in areas where we're not going to take up any more farmland. We're not going to, take farmland away. We're going to put it in areas where it can just be unobtrusive and provide us with power. Now, tell me, who wouldn't want to move to a state where the power is free and the water is free and the internet's free? I don't know that any of this is possible at this point, but I do know I want to take a look at it. I know I want to take a look at getting rid of property taxes, and I want to take a look at getting rid of income taxes. And one of the first things I will do is provide incentives for electric vehicles, hybrids, things like that, where people can trade in a vehicle or go get a new vehicle without paying property taxes on it. And I want to remove property taxes completely, which is definitely part of the libertarian package there. So those are a few things I've got on my agenda.
Thank you, Gary. Mark, 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Well, thank Gary and Cole and my good friend Michael for showing up here with me tonight to do these talks, different people, different things on projects and what we think should go on in Arkansas. Now, what would I do? If you nominate me, we know that we need 3% of the population or the voters to get in the governor's race to get on the ballot next time at the party. Do you get me? Nominate me? We'll get that. Not only will we get that, I'll work hard enough. We'll try to get the governor's seat. I won't take no for an answer if y'all want to do that. But it's actually up to the people in the nomination for your vote when we come up there. Now, so what would I do if I was governor? Well, cut taxes. The taxes in the state are absolutely ridiculous. And they're against the people, the working people. Now, taxes isn't the only thing. You have these in the insurance. Insurance is running crazy in this state, and it's allowed to be doing that by the current governor. Look it up if you're not familiar with that. We should be working to help people in Arkansas. We shouldn't be working to make sure corporations are getting richer. That's what's happening right now. And telling people one thing and doing another is what the current politicians are doing in this state, the Republicans and the Democrats. And the current governor, she's been around there to put her hands in the pockets. You can look at what's going on in this state for the last 20, 30 years plus, at least 30 years, and you can see the downhill spiral. Y'all take care. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Michael, wrap us up. 2 minutes.
Okay. Once again, thanks for putting this on. I really appreciate the other three guys here that are running for this office. And I think that in Arkansas anyway, libertarians are pretty good about, we don't hate each other. We might disagree with each other a whole lot, but when it comes down to it, we're going to support and give whatever help we can to make sure that whoever our nominee is succeeds. And so I'm glad everyone else is here. I'm glad that we have a robust slate of candidates. If you're a Republican, you got no choice. You get whoever they chose for you. If you're a Democrat, you get one of two choices. But here you've got four, and there may be more by the convention. Who knows? as far as other things go, I think transparency is a big thing. The governor came in and started right off with the podium gate, corruption there, and then went into trying to gut all our FOIA laws, changed those enough so that we can't follow the money on a lot of things. So, you know, when the governor goes to watch the Super Bowl or goes to Disney World or, you know, goes to Mar-a-Lago or overseas for vacations, we have no idea how much that costs the taxpayers now because that transparency is gone. The FOIA laws were gutted to that extent. You know, if I'm elected, I'm going to urge those laws to be reinstated. And if not, I'm going to follow them even if they aren't. The people deserve that. They deserve to know what's going on with their money, with what's going on with their servants. Taxes, another big issue. Everyone wants to talk about income taxes. Our income taxes, it'd be great to get rid of them. Ours are some of the lowest in the U.S. for states that have taxes. Let's look at sales taxes, where ours is the second highest. I mean, we're worse than California, New Jersey, and New York. What Gary said about property taxes, our state constitution in Article 2 actually prohibits them. It calls all the lands in Arkansas are loyal. There's no feudal tenures.
Hey, Michael.
Are we ready to get back to that?
Minutes.
No, but let's head that direction. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all for participating. And I want to remind you that the LPAR annual convention, Big Liberty, will be February 20th to the 22nd. And Dr. Packo, would you like to step in and offer any kind of housekeeping thoughts?
Yes. Well, on behalf of the Libertarian Party, let me thank, first of all, you, Steve Brawner, for moderating this event, and also to our 4 participants, one of whom may end up being our candidate for governor. As Michael Kalagias pointed out, we will be selecting our candidates for governor and every other office at the convention next week, and it's a wide open nomination process. So we'll see what happens there. For those of you who are participating here tonight and want to have a say in who our candidates are, I'd encourage you to attend the convention and participate. And for that matter, if you want to run for office, whether it's governor, lieutenant governor, or state legislator, or whatever, let us know and show up at the convention, and we'll see how it goes. But once again, thank you all for participating, and I hope this has been an informative and entertaining forum for everyone who's been watching. So good night, everyone, and look forward to seeing you all a week from Saturday.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate you, Steve.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
Thank
Michael,
you.
everybody.